Yeah, I did 3 years there, and then I graduated. I got the job at Inter, and then the pandemic hit.
What's the sustainability of making films in Florida?
That's a lot of the jobs you're gonna get in real life. You're gonna have to do a bunch of stuff.
There was a skill in learning how to go out and kill your dinner every night. And that's very much what freelance feels like.
Hi, what's up guys? We're here in Hollywood, Florida, and we're super excited to introduce our new guest for today.
Andres, nice to meet you guys. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Would you like to kind of give you a little summary of like who you are and what you do?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Andres. I went to school for film and television. I worked in content and video production for Inter Miami, soccer team here. I'm a big soccer guy, always have been. So I did that for about 3 years. And for like the past year, I've just been freelancing.
So we have a lot in common. I'll have a lot to ask.
He's excited.
I'm gonna try to stay quiet.
I was telling him about you on the way here, and he's like, "What? He likes soccer?" He's getting excited, and
Soccer and filmmaking.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Yeah, and that's just pretty much what I've been up to now. So yeah, I worked in content for about 3 years. It was cool. It was a beast though.
Was that your first? So let's like rewind to how you started before I ask this question. How did you start wanting to do this? What was your first step into becoming a videographer?
I took a class in high school for newspaper, and there was an online like portion of it, which was video, and I just got kind of thrown into that. It was an elective in high school, and I just did it because I had to do it. And I found like certain moments where I was like, I actually kind of enjoyed it, and it was fun. We did like interviews of like maybe one of the basketball players, or if one of the teachers had something going on, like just small stuff. But I enjoyed it. And then I was really big on soccer, and I was really focused on playing soccer in college. And yeah, and then I pretty much had a deal to go to one university, Stetson actually, which is close to Orlando.
Yeah.
And then I got a call one day that the coach had passed away, and he had a heart attack.
Oh, damn.
And so like things kind of just fell apart real quick for me. That must have been like a month before my graduation. And so my dad actually went to UT when he went to college. He did his undergrad at UT. So I just ended up going there as well. And then I just signed up for film because it was the closest thing to what I had like done in school that I liked. And I did 2 years there. And after the second year, I had a conversation with my dad in the summer where he just asked me like, do you really want to do this kind of thing? Because I felt like at UT, it was kind of like a journalism school more than it was a film school kind of thing. I always kind of just said that like it was a school that had a film department, but not a film school. And so then I transferred to SCAD in Savannah, and I did.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love SCAD. SCAD was a great experience.
One.
And I ended up having to do an extra year of school because I lost credits, but like I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah, for SCAD, for sure.
And so yeah, I did 3 years there, and then I graduated. I got the job at Inter, and then the pandemic hit.
Right, you came back ready to go.
Literally the first game of the season, the inaugural, because it was also the first season that they had started the club. And the first game of the season, I think, was March 14th. And I think lockdown was the 13th. Yeah, it was yeah.
No way.
So right there, literally.
So it didn't happen. Yeah, they canceled.
So the game didn't even happen?
They postponed it by like 6 months. Then they did a bubble kind of thing. The whole first year was very weird.
A whole COVID world was a whole different world.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like we went through this nightmare then. But yeah, I don't even want to talk about that, to be honest. I mean, there's so much good stuff that you just mentioned. So I think you ended up going to something that, you know, at first it seemed like the wrong path, right? Because the reason it happened is because the coach passed. So you weren't able to play soccer in college, which was your original dream, I guess.
Right.
But you ended up working with something you love, and for an up-and-coming soccer team that right now is like one of the main ones in the States. So.
What had been like a moment you're like, pinch me, this is not real?
When I got the job at Inter.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, because it felt like my stars aligned pretty much. Because I had moved back from school. So I graduated in the summer of 19, and then I moved back. I was a little burnt out. I had done an extra year. My last year I had done the summer, so I had done like 2 years back to back. And I spent like a month up north in New Hampshire and Buffalo, and then I did a bit of a road trip too, and I just enjoyed that. And then I came back and I was just like, what am I gonna do? And I always went to school like telling people and even telling myself that I wanted to be like a writer, filmmaker, director kind of thing. And it's not that I didn't know it, but like I grasped it more after I graduated, that like probably no one was gonna hire me to be a director for some big project or big time film like straight out of school kind of thing. And I always felt I love my experience with SCAD. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like, I mean, it's not even like any dirt on them or anything like that. But you're only there for a few years, and they really just teach you how to go about making a film. But it's all really geared about like feature films and certain things. But I felt during my time there, at least, and I had to take less classes for credits and stuff like that, but I never really learned about like the sustainability of it kind of thing, and like making money in terms of just like, you know, the whole starving artist kind of thing. Like I felt the weight of that like a lot as soon as I graduated, and I was like, shit.
I think that's a big problem with most film degrees, and I mean, it's hard for one guy to go and talk about all of them, but from my experience from the different schools I've attended and classes, I think they teach you the skills behind filmmaking. They maybe show you a bunch of films that are really good. They'll show you how to write a script. But when it comes to distribution, it's very little. And
or selling a project too. I didn't have anything like that at all.
Or even saying, okay, these skills can apply to becoming a videographer or a content producer for Inter Miami. You wouldn't know that in school.
I don't think I heard the word videographer 3 years in SCAD.
No way.
It's because it's all about film, which is cool.
90% of that class is going to end up working with something similar around filmmaking, but not exactly, oh, you're going to become a big-time director right out of school.
To be fair, though, they did open up a social media undergraduate degree, I think that was going to start in the fall of 2019 or something like that. So right after I graduated. I don't know what that would have looked like. I don't know what it looked like. But yeah, definitely. That was
it's a whole thing, kind of like to jump off what you said. Like, you go to school, because I went to school for, my degree was digital media and technology. It was like a broad general degree. Because when I first went in, I was going to do game design. And then the college I went to just didn't have game design. So they threw me in a bunch of random classes, and I was like, oh, whatever. Graduate, and then you're like, okay. I started volunteering on short films, thinking, okay, like, I'll do this, you know, things will speed up, I might get hired. After like a year or a year and a half, I'm like, I'm not getting hired at all. These are all just more free films. I'm just doing free and free and free. Like, what's the sustainability of making films in Florida? And really, there's, unless you're in specific production houses, there's not that much.
You know, it was a really big thing for me too that no one ever spoke about in school ever, and it hit me since the day after I moved back. Was like, when you're in film school, particularly in my situation where I was out of state, everyone, I mean, they have other majors there at the school, obviously, but everyone is sort of like secluded in their own little hub within their major kind of thing. And you're in a place, particularly at SCAD, which is, I mean, I love Savannah, but like, you take the university out of there, it's a completely different city. So it felt like everyone was there to do film, and people are there to do sound, people are there to write and direct and DP. And then I move out of that whole environment and I come to Miami, and it's like all of my friends that I went to high school with, they studied something different, you know what I mean? And you're now not surrounded by the same kind of energy and same kind of people and resources, obviously, and, you know, cameras and just everything.
You just have to find everything again.
It's like they take you out of it kind of thing. And you know what I mean? And then you're kind of like
an alien back into your own world that you grew up in.
And I didn't know that the pandemic obviously was going to happen, but like, I felt alienated and like removed from that, you know what I mean? And then so that's why I say my stars aligned in terms of Inter Miami being soccer. I was here in Miami kind of thing. I wanted to live with my parents initially for a little bit after school, that way I could save money, because I didn't know what I was going to do right away. And then the Inter thing came, and it kind of just felt like everything came together.
So how did you get that job?
That job was crazy. It was actually the only job that I applied to out of school.
No way.
My dad had told me about it at first, I think, and I kind of blew it off in my head because I was just like, David Beckham, like, they're not going to hire me. I have no experience. I'm straight out of school kind of thing. And then I just got to a point where I was just like, I need to do something. I need to apply for something and get going kind of thing. And it was the first opportunity right out my door, and I applied to it. I looked up the hiring manager on LinkedIn. I did it on a Sunday night. Sent him a message on LinkedIn. They were hiring for a manager position, and I just applied anyway. And I sent him a message like, I'll do anything below that if you guys have that kind of thing. He got back to me that same Sunday, actually, and I started 10 days later.
Like, yeah.
Amazing.
So I think I held the record for the fastest person hired or something.
That's
That's good,
but it was really cool.
But he didn't do, like, a bunch of people just like send it and then just walk away.
No, he
actually
went to the
And I wrote a cover letter too, which was easy for me because I was a big soccer fan. And so
That's a big game
I wrote
changer.
something about, like, I would drop in phrases of like, I've always been passionate about the beautiful game and, you know, stuff like that, which is true. But like, I think they could tell that I was passionate about soccer, and I lived here, and I had a good school experience kind of thing, and my stars aligned.
So did you have already some kind of portfolio to show or nothing?
I had done my two capstone projects at SCAD. One I wrote and directed, and then I helped produce, and I was like an AD on the other. Kind of thing.
So how do you think the abilities that you not necessarily learned in school, but the abilities from being a filmmaker, being a director, how does that transfer over into what you did for Inter Miami, and also what did you do for Inter Miami, if you want to get a little more specific about it?
For sure. So one funny thing is, I don't know about your guys' experience at school and all, but for me, when I went to SCAD, I was very much intimidated by all the technology on the cameras and all the lights and all that kind of stuff. And that added to the reason why I always leaned towards writing and directing kind of thing. And I would tell myself, like, I'll leave the technical stuff to somebody else kind of thing. And then when I started at Inter, like I said, you're removed from that environment. So everyone is expected to sort of be a jack of all trades, which had never really occurred to me when I was in school, because it's not a real thing on a film set, or at least on like bigger sets. And so I had to learn real fast, like ISO and shutter speed and all, which I knew what they all were, but like shooting live events, everything is going down, but it's going down right now. And there's very much a skill in learning how to like position yourself and where to be. Yeah. We did that a few weeks ago a little bit. But in sports too, it feels like there's so much going on at the same time. Motion, there was definitely a learning curve with that the first year. COVID definitely helped me out and was nice to me in that sense.
Give you a little buffer time.
Right, but in terms of, exactly. In terms of lighting and maybe some other stuff too, like from film school, it definitely helped. So to answer your question about what I did at Inter, basically everything. There was a video team of 3 of us, and so we would do hype videos for the games for social. We did stuff for Instagram, YouTube, Facebook a little bit, any sponsored kind of stuff. Especially during the pandemic, there were shoots, for example, where Adidas wanted something, but they couldn't really fly people out, kind of thing. So they would just tell basically the clubs, just do it. So we did. But then sponsors too, like Publix and Captain Morgan, Hay Club, like other stuff like that. There were some cool shoots with Beckham too.
Awesome.
And just like a
lot of people would be happy to be on set for that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Right, Val's smiling here.
I'll bring the water.
Yeah.
He was cool. So we did a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, but it's a lot of work. Like
Well, because I think when you're when in film school, and that's the back to the issue with it. I think is that everyone's wearing like a very specific hat, and everyone has a very specific task that they have to do on that set, right? So if you're positioning yourself as more of a writer or a director, that's what you're gonna have to do. Any job that you apply for, especially if you're in Florida, where you're probably gonna have to be a jack of all trades and wear all those different hats. You're gonna have to know lighting. You're gonna have to know all these things. Yeah. You know what I mean? And either you learn all of that and become really good, or you're still going to try to position yourself as that specific thing. That's why it's hard for me, even when you ask me, what do you do? I'm thinking of myself here, and I'm thinking, well, I do lighting, but I also edit a lot, but I write a bunch of stuff, but I direct. That's a lot of the jobs you're going to get in real life. You're going to have to do a bunch of stuff,
And you have to, take on probably few experience and then research as much as you can. Like, sometimes I had to DP and I have to look it up, the camera I'm gonna use, and just go through a bunch of videos on YouTube, because you don't have enough time and a degree to dig every single camera. And they're normally not the newest cameras either. So you really need to have that mentality that you're always learning, or it's gonna be harder, I think. But going back to live production, that's where I transitioned. I studied in Venezuela just a semester, kind of like as a mistake, I'll say, because I was looking for audiovisual production, and then it was film school. So, I learned all the editing with purpose and writing stories and all that, and then I stopped that, moved here, and I was like, I don't want to be this starving artist. And I was like, I'm gonna do something different. Let me do ad and PR, which is what you went for school. And when I was like just taking the test to get in, it was mainly copyright, and I'm like, this is my second language, and I like creative writing. Who am I fooling? This is for me, this is for my life. So then I studied television. So that's where I had like a little experience with like games and stuff, because we'll do cameras or concerts and stuff like that. And when you get to live production, it's such a different dynamic from like film. It's a completely different setup, and even though you need like kind of the same skills, you need a different like mindset, and it's like hands-on, like you're 100% woke in the moment. But then when it's done, it's such a release. I love it. That's where I was like, oh well, this is different, but I love it just for the fact that when it's done, it's done. And if there were mistakes, they're gone either way. You know, you're not gonna rewatch that so many times.
And there's another skill too in learning to have a short memory with it in the moment and just keep going, kind of thing. Yeah. I tell my friends and people too that like when it comes to live events, I don't know about you. Have you guys? Well, you do. I know you do live events. Have you done live events as well?
I started. My first job was for UCF athletics.
Okay.
So literally covering soccer, football,
Nice.
basketball, volleyball.
Cool. I don't
The
know about
main thing they threw me at was soccer because I knew how to follow the ball and I knew what to do better than everyone else. Because I'm from Brazil, so like I knew if a guy was gonna kick, I knew he was gonna kick. If he was gonna dribble,
Right.
and if he was gonna pass. So I was doing like the live event coverage for that. So
I don't know about you guys, but for me, I always feel like I black out. Like I become a different person.
Go into
almost.
the whole zone mode. And
Like I'd step out of my own body and do this thing, and like, cause it made me think because when you said when you finish you love it. When I finish, I'll sit down, and I'll just be like, I really just did all that. Like that just happened within 2 or 3 hours, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all a blur, but I remember it, but I don't.
Exactly. You just remember doing the stuff.
it depends on the level of stress. If it's something that, well, if you're covering Inter Miami, I feel like, and if it's like a big moment that Messi's doing something incredible and you have to do that and that's it, yeah, I feel like I would black out for that moment. I remember like if it was a final, so for UCF, football is like the main thing, American football, and so like I was filming the final. That moment, yeah, blacked out. And then we won. And then we were champions. I was like, okay.
You come
I'm
back.
back to reality. I remember a couple of moments that I was running around with this camera.
I only come back when I get in like my bed, or I hop in the shower, or I'm driving home, kind of thing. Like not even in the moment.
wait a minute, I'm undressed.
Yeah, what's going on? Literally.
One time I was floor director, which happened, you just cue people. I have no idea what was the content. And I knew from, the pre-production of the show, but I was so focused that I just remember cueing people, pop, and then it was like, oh my God, you're so tired, you just want to sleep and forget about that day. But, it's not like, that's the thing with like filmmaking. You still have all that work and then you don't have a final product until you have. And then the final product is kind of like surprise. Like, it's like, whoa, we did this. But it takes a little bit for sure. So, yeah, it's like completely two different.
Yeah, and either way, but I think both are just so mentally draining. Like you think like, okay, you're on set, you're not pushing. Even a director is just sitting there just doing this.
Oh my God, you're so
And at the end of the day, you're like we're doing shoots, and then I asked him a question like 7 hours in, and he's like, what? What's going on?
Sometimes the mind, like the creativity, it's literally like there's a juice, there's like a bar, like a level, and like sometimes it's like here, and people are asking me, so do you think this color is good for this mug or should it be pink? I don't know right now. This actress is running this line about her daughter who got killed and she's crying. That's what I'm worried about. If you want it to be pink, get the pink one. Make sure it's pink all throughout though. Make sure you don't change it to blue in the middle, I'm just saying. Based on everything we're saying right now, I guess, is there any specific moment that you remember that like big time you like had to just black out and just like I'm out, like let myself just run this whole thing? Like any big moment that you lived with Inter Miami that they remember was like amazing or? Yeah.
I mean, there's not only one, there's a handful. There's one that is like head and shoulders above the rest. Was right after as I was transitioning out of Inter Miami. I was born in Honduras, but my mom's side of the family is from Argentina. And Argentina, basically a year ago, I think in September last year, Argentina played at the Hard Rock here versus Honduras. And Argentina and Honduras were training out of the Inter Miami facility.
Ooh,
and
awesome.
it was pretty much like my last week on the job at Inter. And I tried to wiggle my way in to get access to film the game, but everybody wanted to go for Argentina. This is also like pre-World Cup, right? These are like the friendlies to get ready for the World Cup. Argentina's the favorites kind of thing. And I had been asking my boss to help me get access, and like the day before, he told me like they're just not answering me, kind of thing. They're only giving us 2
access
passes.
to the game or to the practice?
To the game, to be able to film the game.
Oh, okay.
Basically a pass.
Okay.
And yeah, and then he tells me, Honduras is gonna train here at the facility where we work out of, or I was working out of, in like a couple hours. And I was like, I'm not really gonna wait for him, kind of thing. Like, and I was like, I literally packed my stuff up. And I was walking to my car, and I was like, this is nonsense. Like, I'm just gonna wait. And I turned around, just waited at my desk for 2 hours, didn't do anything. Honduras showed up. Long story short, it took me forever, but I went up to the press officer, pulled out my Honduras card, kind of thing, shook his hand, and he was like, if you guys need anything, like, I'll help you out. And I was wearing my Inter shirt, had my camera in my hand, and he says to me, that would be fabulous. And so I was like, all right, cool. But he was like, but I have to see if I can get you access to the game. This is the day before the game. And so he doesn't tell me until like 11 a.m. the day of the game. He's like, yes, you can go, kind of thing. So I get to go through Honduras' team, so I was in their locker room and stuff like that, which was a cool experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mentally, I was kind of like, this is Argentina. This is the favorites to win the World Cup. This is Messi kind of thing in his last World Cup. And so I was like, Argentina's probably going to win. And so normally when I film a game, I always film with the team that I'm filming on their attacking half, obviously. But no disrespect to Honduras, obviously, but I knew Messi was probably going to score. So there were moments in the game where I would pop over to our defensive end, right, just in case. And it's probably like the 43rd minute of the first half. Actually, a real quick side story. The day before, I was filming Honduras training just to show the guys some footage that I can get, kind of thing. Now, every time, similar to what you were talking about following the ball, every time there's a free kick or a shot or a play, any play really, particularly a penalty, I was so fixated on following the ball to go in the net. And I was filming a PK of Honduras training penalties, and I was filming the guy, and it dawned on me in that moment, like, a penalty is if the player scores, he's expected to score, kind of thing. So the ball going in the net isn't really that special. I'm gonna hold on the player, and you'll see it in their face whether they score or not. And I thought that was a good idea. And of course, because this is another moment where my stars aligned, I was in the right place at the right time. Penalty for Argentina. I'm standing right next to the goal. Messi, of course, comes up to take it. And I got it in 4K 120. I'm just locked in on his face, right? Oh. And he comes and he.
That's what you showed me yesterday.
He comes, he scores this penalty.
So
also,
dope.
He can score a penalty. He can go absolutely anywhere, right? He also scored a penalty in a friendly against Honduras of all countries. Probably not really going to celebrate it much, right? And for whatever reason, my stars align. He runs directly at me. He looks dead into the barrel of my lens and celebrates the goal. And I was not expecting it at all. I'm on a 7200. And so I'm trying to step back. And then I had no idea. He runs up to me and he jumps. And I cut his head off a little bit because I had no idea. Like, I was living in the moment. There's live events right there. And I'm racking focus as he's coming close to me because I didn't know what he was going to do at all. And then I almost threw up. No. Because the play ends, they go back, they're going to restart, but they're going to go right back into they're basically going to go into halftime. But I say I almost threw up. I hit a thumbnail on my camera, and the camera and the card is completely like there's no clips.
Oh my
god!
No.
I swear to you, I was about to yak.
Dude,
and then
you're
I'm
saying
like
that right
sweating.
now. I'm already yakking.
I'm sweating and I'm freaking out, right?
Bro.
And then they blow the whistle, and I gotta run across the field completely to get into the locker room. So I gotta get in there before they close the doors for Honduras. And I'm carrying this trap on my bag, and like I'm probably about to start crying, kind of thing. I'm so frustrated. And I get there and I slap the thing in the camera or in my
laptop.
Yeah,
wait,
my
what
laptop.
did you press on the camera?
I was telling no, I just don't think I pressed record.
Oh,
which has never really happened to me.
This guy always jokes with
we
that.
joke about
Yeah,
that,
people
but
joke
I'm
about
like,
it all the
that's
time.
impossible.
But you tell yourself no. Like I was looking at it, like I saw it, but it happened so fast you don't remember. Like you back out.
Your
And I
adrenaline's
throw
so high.
Yeah, I throw my memory in my laptop. And I'm not even filming the halftime speech because I'm like, no offense to Honduras, but screw you guys. I need to know if I got this or not. And then it comes up, and it was the only clip on the card. Wow. And I had 2 cards in the thing, so I think when I pressed thumbnail, it was showing me what was on the empty one.
That's what happened to me before.
Yeah.
I sat there like this for like 5 minutes, and I was just like, oh my god. And I exported it real fast. I airdropped it to my phone.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Wait, was
incredible.
the other footage still saved?
What a roller coaster.
Was the other footage still saved?
Yeah, I never lost anything, and I did record. Yeah, I think the computer was just showing me what was on the empty card, which was nothing. I don't know why I did that.
A heart attack.
Yeah.
And then I airdropped it to myself because I explored it through on my phone kind of thing. My parents happened to be at the game, which is another part of the story, which was really nice. Someone sent a message from Inter Miami. At Inter, we would always get 2 complimentary tickets to every game. And they sent a message out like at 5 p.m. the day before the game. I guess HR had forgot, like, oops, kind of thing. If you want tickets, like, you have to sign up first come, first serve. I think it's because it was on a 5 p.m. on a Friday that everyone was probably driving home and didn't see it. So I must have been like the first person to put my name on the list. And I just threw my parents' names on there just in case.
And you got it.
And I think like at 6:30, I got an email from HR, here are your 2 tickets. So I gave them to my parents and they went to the game. So it was really cool because like they got to be there too.
I remember.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Argentina won 3-0, I think.
3-0.
Which wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that's not that bad. Yeah.
And then I got home and I was obviously telling my parents what had happened. And that's when my mom told me like, that's the first time, she said, I got to say that I saw Messi play live. And when she said it was kind of when I was like, yeah, that's true. Actually, that had never really even occurred to me, kind of thing. Like, it is sort of like a Michael Jordan, or maybe even Kobe Bryant kind of moment in that sense.
Yeah, I've seen Messi for Barcelona once.
Yeah,
against Madrid. I seen him live, and it's fucking amazing. Yeah.
It's and then he goes on and they win the World Cup.
I saw it when Ronaldo was playing in Madrid and Messi was in Barcelona.
Oh yeah,
what year was that game? That was like years ago, like 10 years ago or more. Wow. But yeah, it was a good game. It was a good game.
They were all
Barcelona, in Madrid actually. I was wearing the Barcelona jersey in Santiago Bernabeu. And then it was 1-1. 1 goal Cristiano, 1 goal Messi. Wow. What a match.
Oh my God.
I've seen like a bunch of these guys, just like, I've seen Neymar, I've seen like a lot of them just like living in Brazil and like seeing, even Ronaldinho, I've seen Ronaldinho live, bro.
Wow.
Ronaldinho is insane. And he was old already when I saw him. But
that's amazing, man.
That's what a story, dude.
Yeah.
I want to understand what you did for them though. So you were like more of like a content creator for them, or did you do live for Inter? Yeah. Were you on sticks, like on a tripod, or?
We did everything.
Yeah.
We did everything. So we had to film all the games, obviously, all the home games.
But how does that work? When you say I had to film all the games, you're not doing live transmission for any.
No. There's a separate. Okay. Yeah, we're doing content.
So just for the people to understand, because I've worked with sports, I know how it is. For people, when you say I'm filming a game or I'm shooting a game, they think you're taking photos. They might think you're just doing video. So if you can explain a little bit how that works.
I've never really done photography. And then for Inter, there's a separate different department just for broadcast. Now it's pretty much Apple, because Apple has this partnership with the MLS. So we were strictly on the content team. And then there's a separate team that's the digital team, and they do all the posting. They all do all the captions, all the analytics. They're also working with the sponsorship sort of aspect of the club too. They run the academy pages as well, and then the second team and all that sort of stuff. We basically just created the content and we gave it and said, you guys go ahead and you do what you do with it.
And you had a photographer within your team as well?
So my department was the content department, and it just sort of branched down. You had the graphic design, you had photography, and you had video. I was on the video team.
Got you.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good structure. It makes sense, if you think about it. And then that content would go to social media, and then they would, like you said, make the posts and even analytics, insights, whatnot, right?
Right.
It's a good structure. It's like a small in-house agency that they have, pretty much. Yeah.
Although it changed like 2 years in when Instagram decided to go vertical strictly, or vertical only.
Yeah.
Changed in what sense?
I just feel like video content for social media changed completely. I mean, we were doing a lot of horizontal stuff, which, to answer one of your previous questions about like how did my job relate to what I did in film school, that's what, like, video was horizontal. It wasn't, you didn't even think about it. And then Instagram comes up and it's like, now it's the opposite.
Everything's a reel.
And it's strictly the opposite.
Real, yeah.
And then
Nobody asked us.
Did you start shooting like this, or did you just crop things?
Hell no. Personally, I hate doing that. I do it sometimes, because sometimes you have to and you pay the bills and you're freelancing kind of stuff, but I hate it. For me, I'm just more of a traditionalist kind of thing. And there was a moment, I'm talking about it as if it was years ago. It really wasn't that long ago. But I felt like there was a lull where there was people like us were struggling to adapt to that and not really knowing. People were stacking 3 videos on top of one another, which no one really does anymore, kind of thing. And that didn't really look good. And we kind of knew it, but we're like, we don't really know what to do about it. And then it was really just, turn the camera to the side kind of thing. But for me, it kills so much of the video. Imagine, you've filmed sports games before and soccer games. Imagine how difficult it would be if you turned your camera to the side and then tried to follow all the action. It brings your margin down.
Everything is horizontal. First of all, our eyes are built to see things like this. That's the reason why cameras were even created like this in the first place. And That's why widescreen cinema. That's why IMAX. And then this is literally the opposite, and you're only doing that to fit a screen. There's no other reason.
To fit this motion right here.
And the
that's
problem,
literally why.
another problem with that is if you decide to shoot it, because you were asking, I think one of you asked me if I shoot vertically.
I was
if
asking
you
if you
shoot
shoot it or crop
vertically, you can only use it vertically.
Yeah.
If you shoot 4K horizontal, it'll still work for vertical. You have that crop. Maybe if you frame it, you'll see what you get, kind of thing. But you can repurpose it, which is something that we had to do for Indie, because sometimes we'd make videos and the broadcast department would want to put it on the stream, but say before the press conference, before the coach showed up,
or YouTube, YouTube channel.
or YouTube as well, obviously. But that was something, for example, that soccer in this country is decades behind Europe and Latin America, but particularly Europe in terms of content and that kind of stuff. Like Liverpool, PSG, United, not really Real Madrid, Barcelona so much. They were very late on the game, I think, because of just how big of a brand they were. They didn't really need to really brand themselves that much with content. But their YouTube channels are insane. I mean, they'll have 5 to like 10, 15 million subscribers.
Yeah.
And their videos get views. And it feels like just the whole sport and everything around it, this country is just decades behind, and it's growing at a really fast pace.
It is really fast.
The MLS is pretty much going to be divided in two in terms of like pre-Messi and post-Messi, because he's going to change everything.
I feel that.
Yeah.
But when I was there, YouTube was not really a thing.
Guy is making is
but we weren't really doing much for YouTube, and it was difficult for the club to drive people to YouTube. And I forgot who. I was wearing my AOD hat last time when we talked about the AOD thing. And like, I think it was Mark at one point, or someone had said something that like, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world behind Google, kind of thing, which it wasn't until he said it where I was like, actually, that makes sense, but I didn't really think about it, kind of thing. But as Inter, we never really did much YouTube stuff. And that's why I brought up the whole Instagram going vertical, because the digital team's job at Inter was to help grow the brand of the team. Which just makes sense. The vast majority, if not all, sports clubs are not profitable businesses at the end of every year because they spend so much money. So they really rely on like, outside money kind of thing. And so Instagram was pushing the digital team to post reels only and keep them like 10, 15 seconds kind of thing. So then circle back to our other question about film school is like, it was hard enough to try and tell a story from beginning to end in 5, 6, 7 minutes. How the hell am I going to do it in 15, 20 seconds kind of thing? And it felt like Instagram just flipped everything on its side, and everything turned into being about quantity over quality.
Oh yeah,
100%.
And that's ultimately what ended up leading to me deciding I wanted to leave. That not really Inter Miami, but really like what we were talking about before we started this was just like, it's a hamster wheel, this content thing. And if you'll do it and you can become really good at it, but like you'll do it for 3 years and realize like it's not that I'm in the same spot that I was before, but like I'm just kind of just doing it over and over and over.
So you didn't see Messi coming in?
No. We were told that there was interest on his behalf. They couldn't get him to sign anything. He would have been breaching his contract with PSG. And we were told that it was likely to happen right after the World Cup. I think because Argentina won the World Cup, the whole country was just partying for like 2 or 3 months kind of thing, that everything just got pushed back. Everything got pushed back and delayed. I knew that if I stayed, I was not going to leave 6 months after he got here because he was joining halfway through the year. So that means I would probably want to do the whole other year. That'd be another 1.5 years. But we were told a year before, so it'd be 2.5 years really. And I was like, I don't know that I want to do that for another 2.5 years. And I knew, don't get me wrong, I would love the opportunity to film Messi. I did that one time. It was great. Maybe I'll be able to do it again in the future kind of thing. But Higuain was there, Blaise Matuidi was there. There were other big names there with Beckham, of course. And we worked a lot. And I knew if Messi comes, this is going to be insane. And I had knew, I think we were told that Apple was about to invest in the league kind of thing. I knew that was going to change everything. They were going to have their hands on everything, or whatever they wanted to, really. But ultimately, I just felt like, I felt my stars aligned, I could feel the wind blowing, sort of telling me like, I think it's my time to move on. So yeah.
It's cool because sometimes we land in that dream job, and then it's really hard to let go to, the expectation of you growing and getting interest in other stuff, or just seeking growth, really. And then be like, well, it's time for me to move on. It's like kind of just like a relationship with yourself and your camera and everything you experience as like a professional, but you have to do it. Otherwise, then you start getting in that cycle of like soul draining jobs. And like, we're here for a reason. We already heard of all the people that have jobs that hate it and for years and all that. And we can try to do the difference, like pick our own path and all that. But we still have to keep doing the same routine of like seeking growth and stuff like that. Otherwise, we get stuck, and nobody likes to wake up 10 years after and be like, oh shit, I'm being shit.
Doing the same thing, yeah.
You know, like that was.
That's what I went through. But then on the flip side of that, I had romanticized so much about the job.
Yeah.
And I wanted to leave, you know, through the front door, not with my flowers kind of thing, but like with great memories, you know what I mean? And I wanted to have like a romantic ending to it because I knew how great the opportunity was, and I didn't know another thing that nobody ever talks about. It wasn't until my coworker Cameron at Intet had said it that it kind of made sense in my head. Was like, everyone kind of just talks about like your first job out of school when you come out of school. No one ever talks about your second job. And he was telling me how your second job in a lot of ways is much bigger than your first job because it's really entry level in most cases for most people, the first job. But the second job is it really can, you know, catapult you a lot further kind of thing. And it depends. Your second job really depends on how well you did on your first job. You know, your first job can just be, they're maybe not expecting that much out of you. It's just sort of a fresh out of school kind of thing. We'll mold them kind of thing. So yeah.
I want to hear a little bit of your inner scriptwriter and director. Because it's cool to see, like, you will have to always check on that guy inside of you. And I'm wondering if you have any story or script you really like and you put aside, maybe one day take on, maybe one day we can help you produce something.
So actually, before I got the job at Inter, I guess I could say, I'm giving away my idea pretty much. I don't think it'll happen, which is part of the reason why I stopped doing it. But I had this idea about a show that I wanted to write. Actually, maybe I won't give it all away, or I'll tell you guys afterwards. But about, like, it was a soccer thing. I wanted to write a show about soccer. Did you guys see the movie Goal, like 15 years ago? Yeah. I basically wanted to take something like that, and now I'm pretty much giving it away, but whatever. Doing it like a TV version out of it kind of thing. And you know, you see these movies about other sports, but it feels like no one really makes movies about soccer kind of thing, and I was just so passionate about soccer. But then when I started working at an actual soccer team, which I thought was great at first because I was like, now I get the inside look of what it's actually like kind of thing. That just consumed my world kind of thing. Yeah. But then it dawned on me later just like the amount of issues, like maybe the reason why it hasn't been done. Like I didn't want to be arrogant and think that like I'm the first person who thought of this kind of thing. There's probably a reason behind it. And there's maybe so many clubs involved in a league and they all have to agree to it, or the league is involved and this and that. And I was just
paperwork, all that. And
in school I didn't really learn about selling a project we were talking about. So I was like, maybe that seems a little bit too big, at least to start off of. Mm-hmm. But then after Inter, I got into AOD. Which I thought was great.
So how did you find AOD? Was it just online?
Mark, YouTube. Yeah, that's how everyone probably finds AOD. Are you guys familiar with AOD?
No, I don't know what it is.
I know AOD.
It's a film course program thing called The Art of Documentary. Mm-hmm. And there's these two guys that run it, Mark and Mike. They have a larger team with Landon and Kim and Kenwin, and I think maybe a couple other people now.
You guys are currently what you work with?
Right? No. So they basically started up this course, and there's multiple classes within the course about learning how to go about making documentary films. But then they have one in particular called Create and Earn, which is about learning how to make your own sustainable video business and how to really knock down that wall of the starving artist kind of thing, which on the surface sounds like, oh, that sounds like a great idea, but it is probably complicated, but they've done it very well. So that's been really cool. And then, so I joined it for those two reasons pretty much, because I really wanted to get both of those things out of it.
So did you join it right before you left Inter or after?
They were overlapping, because I think I left Inter in September, October-ish, kind of, because I had transitioned out more than anything. And I think that's when the window was opening up for AOD, September.
Yeah, they always have like blocks where you can sign up for
so YouTuber. Things just sort of aligned in that moment. And then I watched them. And I really have to give them a lot of credit because like I went to film school, what I thought was a great film school, and we were talking about some of the things you learn in film school kind of thing, but I love SCAD, don't get me wrong, and I was a college student while I was there, and I'm much more mature and a professional now. But like I feel like I've learned more from AOD than I did at SCAD.
Yeah.
And some of that comes down to because I wanted to go out with my friends at night when I was in school. I still wanted to have a college experience too, kind of thing. You got classes. The classes were small at SCAD, to be fair, but you're taking notes about what does that light do, how much power and wattage does that one have. And it's like, you'll learn that stuff in time, kind of thing.
I think the colleges have a hard time teaching you, like you said, the freelance, the side of like how to actually make it profitable. Like, yes, you can learn 100%. All the technicals of camera work and how to make it work, but then you go on set and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now?
I would take a step back and even say that they don't even teach you on the practical side how to do those things. They will tell you, like you were saying, like the power that a certain light can have, but then okay, I don't even know how to plug it in and how to add a modifier to that light.
Or just the terminology of it all. And it's like, all right, great, I know what everything's called. What am I going to do now?
Exactly. Oh, I know the Kelvin on that. Okay, but you know what it looks like. If you like literally just open your eyes and look at it and it looks yellow or it looks too blue, okay, do you understand how that affects the Kelvin and the color temperature on that?
Yeah.
Most people don't. They just know the number. They just know whatever it is.
I remember I finished college and then they taught me all this, but I don't know if I was like a college kid not paying attention. But then I got my first camera and then I had to figure out what aperture, ISO, and shutter speed were. Yeah. But they had a class on that and I just wasn't.
And you feel so stupid when you're there YouTubing it. You're like, I should really know this.
dude, I figured it out and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I'm clearing my search history real fast.
Oh my God. Yeah, the first, I think for everybody, the first like year or two is just being on set or being in those situations and just learning from experience.
Right.
And I have a lot of people that do AOD. For you, what was the biggest course? Was the biggest, I would say, next step of you becoming what you do now?
I still don't know why he does now.
The create. It's a suspenseful part. No one knows it.
You guys are gonna have to ask that.
Was it the create and earn course, or was it more of the documentary courses?
So I quit Intel a little abruptly, even though I transitioned out. So kind of both of them. And I never really had any sort of mentor that I knew was freelancing kind of thing, and I could sort of just like replicate what they did. So a lot of it was just like, I was like, well, I'm gonna find out how this goes kind of thing. And when I left Intel, I was so incredibly lucky that like my phone just did not stop ringing for like 3 months. And that was my impression of what freelance was kind of thing. And I was like, I could do this forever, this is so easy. And then I was already burnt out after the 3 years at Intel, but when I started freelancing, all this work just came my way that I just embraced all of it. And then New Year's came, I filmed a New Year's Eve party. And on January 1st, I was like, I want to work. Like, I'm tapped out. I spent the first like 10 days of January editing everything I did in December. I cleared my plate and I don't think I worked for like a month and a half, 2 months kind of thing, because I was just burnt out. And then my phone stopped ringing. And then I was just like, well, how am I going to get back into this? And that's when the Create and Earn thing really stepped up more then, because I actually got Create and Earn in March when it opened up again kind of thing. The first one I got was Module 2.
Gotcha.
And when I got Create and Earn, I just sort of had to like basically teach myself using AOD and my experience at like how to go out and chase it kind of thing. And I actually got to film the MLS Cup final in November of 22, a year ago actually. And there was another freelancer there, Marcos, and it wasn't until he said it that it kind of sticked in my head, where he was just like, I think he had been freelancing for maybe a year or two longer than I have, or maybe even more. And he said like, there was a skill in learning how to go out and kill your dinner every night. And that's very much what freelance feels like. Some nights you'll kill a whole cow and you'll have food to eat for a month, and then other nights you won't. And you'll have to go out and be snacking for like 2 or 3 weeks, And then that's just how it is sometimes. But over time, you learn to like make it all work for the year kind of thing, and things start to blend kind of thing. And so right now I've basically finished my first year of freelance. It's been a year since I left Inter. And now I feel like it didn't even dawn on me that there were seasons to certain stuff within filmmaking. Like right now is definitely event season. There's so many events. Yeah. In the summer, it feels like there's probably not much because a lot of businesses have like summer breaks, and people go on vacation and that kind of stuff. Sometimes it feels like some businesses or certain industries are kind of hungover after New Year's a little bit. Some really just want to start the year off strong or whatever. So after you get some experience with it, I feel like you start to learn to dance with it a little bit.
Yeah. I also hear like it's always good to be good at like 2-3 industries, because then when ones are slow, another one's high, and then you can just keep your schedule filled throughout the year.
Right. But that's actually kind of where AOD kind of comes in again, is learning how to, the sustainability of it kind of thing. And I took the accelerated course that they had too with Mike, which was like a 12-week thing. And you Zoom with him and everyone else, I think 12, 15 other people, once a week for like 12 weeks. You know, and he was just talking about like retainer clients and how to pitch stuff to them and learn how to project your own income so then you can fund the passion projects that you want to do. So in terms of, I think you were asking about like, what is it that I do now kind of thing. Like that's something that I'm trying to do now, is basically balance the both, which is essentially what Create and Earn is about.
Yeah.
And funny enough, AOD ended up hiring me. They did their first film festival. They hosted their own film festival.
No way.
Which was in July, I think. Yeah, July. And since I was in the accelerated course, they reached out to me to go do like a BTS video out of it. So I got to travel up there and meet them. And they were super cool dudes. They're in Toronto.
Okay.
But it was cool to see them like in person kind of thing. And there's, you know, with YouTubers, like there's this crazy thing where like you feel like you know them because you watch them all the time. When I met Mark in person, you know, I could tell that I had this like vibe and energy towards him, like I've seen you before. And he looking at me like, you know, nice to meet you. Like, I don't know who you are kind of thing.
It's that YouTuber like dilemma of like, you've seen them and you use, like like you said, you bought their modules, like they're your mentors. And for you, and for them, they're like, hey, there's this guy that I just met.
Right. Yeah. But he's a super cool dude. And he was very transparent.
A lot of good things about it.
Yeah, AOD, yeah. I think the Sean also did AOD too. Yeah. And Sean, he started, I think, like a year ago. And he's already just locking in clients and clients and clients and clients.
Yeah. No, they've done a great job. And they, what they've really done is I feel like they just exploited one little area that felt like no one was really tapping into. And they just dove face first in it. They're very experienced. They know what they're doing. And they just like, they made it their own. And it's been really cool.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Andres now you've finished is this your first year of freelancing?
I just finished my first year, so I'm starting my second. Yeah.
So what's it like now? You were talking about retainer / freelance. Like what would you call yourself as your profession now, and then what's your life looking like?
Depends who asks. Just because like if it's a client kind of thing, then I become a videographer real quicker. You know, if it's a film, then I'll become like a DP director real quick, or a cinematographer. But now I guess I'm wearing several hats, right? So yeah, I kind of do all of them, but that's why it depends on, you know, what need I need to fill more than anything. But basically, yeah, I try and balance the two. So we were talking on my way up here about the, you know, going to Munich and that sort of project and all. So I used to play soccer with this guy 15 years ago. His name is Jonathan Semerani. He goes by Johnny now. I always played very competitive soccer. He was very good. We were on the same team, and then we just went different ways, different teams.
What position did you play?
I played right back. I played left mid. I played right mid. I played center mid. And I played striker. So I played everything but center back, pretty much. I even played goalie a couple times. But yeah, and then he ended up dropping soccer in high school. He became a football kicker, American football, and he made it onto ESPN's like top 10, I think it was, or something like that, for breaking the record for kicking like a 60-yard field goal in high school, like something crazy. And he was obsessed with the University of Miami, and lo and behold, he got recruited to be the kicker on UM, and so he went to UM for a couple of years. This is gonna be a roller coaster of a story, by the way, and. I think after a couple of years, he had maybe some disciplinary issues, some stuff going on kind of thing. He ended up leaving UM after his second year, transferred to a school in Ohio. And if you've played collegiate sports, or really just competitive sports, you know that like the further advanced you get, the finer the margins become, and it can become pretty ruthless pretty fast. And so he learned real quick that like Akron wasn't the school for him kind of thing, and his window closed real fast on him, kind of like it did for me too. And he graduated, and his dad passed away from COVID during the pandemic. And he was telling me he gained like 40, 50 pounds because of it. Was doing stuff that he shouldn't have been doing, was drinking too much, maybe hanging around the wrong crowd at times kind of thing. And then he was telling me, you know, Mondays he ate pizza every day. Tuesdays he ate chicken fingers every day. Like Wednesday he was eating burgers kind of thing. He was not doing good. And then he ran into his dad's boxing coach. and his dad's coach had probably seen that he wasn't, maybe in the best physical state. We're also talking about a dude who was always like really big, really athletic, very strong, very dominant in terms of like playing and stuff like that. And he was overweight and everything. He told him like, why don't you come to the gym? Why don't we start training, kind of thing. And so I ended up doing this documentary on him. And I interviewed his mom, and his mom was just telling me that like that moment just like changed everything about him. And maybe he wasn't the most disciplined kid growing up, and he just like pulled a complete 180. And he got into fighting, and so he spent the whole lockdown like watching UFC and kind of stuff like that. We're talking about someone who was really damn good at soccer when he played soccer, was obviously really good at kicking field goals when he did that. He could have made it to the NFL because he had professional players tell him that. And so he decided that he wanted to take on fighting, kind of thing. He lost his first fight and absolutely loved it, and was telling me like he had been in a couple street fights before, and when he got into like fighting, he realized he didn't know how to fight at all. And then
Jiu-jitsu, MMA, kickboxing?
He does MMA, he does kickboxing, and he does Muay Thai. And so, which I didn't know the first thing about any of these things, right? We also, by the way, we stopped talking. Like after we played together that first year, we went our own ways in life. I had seen through the internet and Facebook that his dad had passed away, but I felt like I didn't really know him enough to really say anything. But he was just kind of there. We knew of each other. He didn't remember me, at least. I remembered him. And I reached out to him, so that's how we got connected. And he said he just fell in love with fighting. He ended up getting this new coach recently, maybe like a year and a half ago. His new coach's name is Roger Crawl. He's like the coolest dude in the gym. He's an incredible coach. He coaches multiple professional UFC fighters. Are you guys into UFC at all?
Watch it sometimes, yeah.
He coaches Amanda Nunes, which is like arguably the greatest female fighter ever. She just won a championship and retired, kind of thing. So his coach, very much the real deal. And so I didn't know this, and I learned this about it. I thought it was really cool. The Olympics, there's no kickboxing, Muay Thai, or any of those sports in the Olympics because there's different rules for different countries for those sports, and the Olympic Committee can't seem to agree on one universal set of rules. So all those sports miss out on being able to participate in the Olympics, which sucks. So basically there's this other organization called the ISK, the International Sport Kickboxing Association, and they basically host the Olympics for these sports. And his coach is one of the few coaches in the US who's like granted permission to nominate fighters to go and participate, kind of thing. And so Johnny ended up finding out that his coach was one of the people, and didn't say anything to him because that's his personality, but just started training like an animal for 3 or 4 months. And lo and behold, his coach obviously picked him to go participate and fight for gold medals. And so he's covered in tattoos now. He's like insanely ripped. He lost all that weight. He probably has like, I don't know how much, barely any fat on his body, kind of thing. He sweats like an animal because of it. And he's just in great shape. And he's got this huge tattoo of his dad's face on his chest now, and everything is like about his dad, kind of thing. And so I was like, all right, well, I have to go do this. So then I flew with him to Munich, and I've been wrapping up a short film on his experience there, and him trying to like make it into the UFC, which is a separate story there too of like he's starting out a sport like very late, like 26 years old, kind of thing, and a sport that's very much brutal. And you probably won't be fighting past 32, 31 maybe, kind of thing. So very small window, so he's just trying to maximize it all. And he's got great support from his family and his coach and all. So, yeah. And I've learned a lot about it. So to answer, I think one of your earlier questions was just like, I've learned so much about it. And we were talking about earlier when I walked in about like the difference between content and like filmmaking kind of thing. And like, it feels like I'm filming a lot less, but I'm enjoying it way more because 100%. I feel like I'm getting to... With him, it's very unique because I already knew him from before, but I feel like I'm getting to know the real him now, the current him now, at least. So we're bonding. He appreciates so much what I'm doing for him and like telling his story and I have a nice camera, so obviously he's super happy with the way it looks and all. And I give him, stills from time to time and whatnot. So it starts to feel like we're dancing and we're having this experience together. I very much felt like I was experiencing his tournament with him, kind of thing. And I'm getting to know his coach and learn about other stuff too. Is like, I was doing so much soccer nonstop all the time that filming something different also challenges me. And I'm meeting new people along the way and just different experiences that I otherwise wouldn't have ever taken on. So, that's been really, really cool.
And was that your first documentary?
That is my first like real film out of school, yeah. Nice. Because I was so unaware, like you were saying, about film school, that it's just all about film or TV kind of thing. This whole videography content thing kind of just came on me. and I embraced it because it was a job and it was like my first job. And
at least you're within the industry, you know.
Right, exactly.
Well, taking on, telling a story and deep in a whole different world that you're not aware, but you totally enjoying it. Like, I'm experiencing that right now because, like, at the beginning of I'll say last year during another film festival we were a part of, we had like 3 movies playing, but one was a little project Mike Castle kind of thing. It was called Ink Therapy. So it's kind of just an analysis of like the tattoo culture and how like the client become more of a, like a intimate relationship with their tattoo artist.
I've heard about that, yeah.
And then that could be potentially a therapy. So I call it ink therapy. And somebody just came up to me and they're like, there's a girl, very interesting, get her number, because she's doing something with tattoo. Not sure, but contact her. And then I was like, in the back of my mind. I contacted her early this morning. That was October last year. This year, I was like, hey, this is my documentary. Somebody told me you'd be interested. I want to know about your research. And we met up. We had this awesome, way to talk. Like, we were on the same page. She's kind of like, she understands what was my first thought of like that documentary. But I was like, but curious, tell me about your research. And her research, I swear, I cannot count how many times I got goosebumps. And I was like, this has to be something. At very end of our meeting, I'm like, well, if you're ready to give up your study and communicate it in like film, I'll be honored to do this. And we kind of jump on that boat. It's like we're like just missing 2 more interviews, and I know everything now about like well, not everything, I'm still learning, just kidding. But a lot of like medical tattooing, which is something I wasn't aware, and then breast cancer patients that snapped me in the face, because like I totally I was like always avoiding that. Like, who wants to think about cancer as a woman, breast cancer, and be like, oh yeah, I know everything about it. Yeah, everybody knows a little bit. But for me, it's like now I have to understand the type of cancer, the type of, complications, and even I became more aware of my own body. So it's like, it's crazy how a documentary can just open a whole perspective, and you become that for the moment. You're gonna be doing this, and then you kind of wrap it up and be like, oh, now this is part of my life, but I was really into it for whoever, how long you do it.
And then you can show the world what you experienced. Like, this is what I saw, and these are the stories like me and my camera captured.
And I think it's nice to not know, because in
You
some
learn
board,
as you go.
you're like audience.
Yeah.
When I start talking to these people, I'll write down questions that all the people that will watch will ask themselves. So
They
I'm
can
like,
relate to those questions, right?
and I'm like, so what is this about? What is the difference between this and
If
that?
you're gonna make a documentary where you already know all the answers to what you're going to, they might as well make a narrative film instead. And,
that's true.
Might as well go in and already say, oh yeah, this character is gonna do that. That's why it's called unscripted, literally, because you don't know what the script is, you don't know where the story is gonna take you. So it's good to like learn with it.
Yeah.
I like that.
But there's also a balance there too between the live events where that sort of comes into it, and you you very much need some of those skills.
You got to roll into it and just make it work. Just in there. If this doesn't work out, you still got to be there capturing the emotions, the faces.
Very much.
Around.
So for example, like with that kind of stuff, I feel like I enjoy documentary more right now, or I see myself doing that more than narrative stuff, just because I could see myself, with the narrative stuff, I could see myself having too much time to think about how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I don't know how I want to do it now. Actually, I'm going to think about it. And then I'll have different thoughts, and then I'll weigh the two, and then I won't be able to decide because I'll become indecisive about certain things.
And then with narrative too, it's like I've learned the hard way the first year of me doing short films and just narrative work is like, you can't do everything. There's just no way. You need a team.
I was watching the last episode when you sent it to me, and you mentioned something about that.
Yep.
But that's exactly where I am, And so I felt that too, because I absolutely despise it.
Yeah.
I absolutely despise it. And that's what you were saying, basically, where when you do everything, you can't do all those things good.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna fail in
it's
one
so
of them.
frustrating.
And then for me, not one of them, multiple of them are gonna frustrate me.
Yeah.
And then I won't feel that proud about then showing the people. And then I'm like, well, then what am I doing this for?
And if you're not like giving that like energy of like, look, I'm so proud of this, like people won't feel it.
Yeah,
either.
people won't vibe with it.
Yeah.
And it's something like we've been working together, and it's like finding somebody that like you trust, that their vision of, even like for example, like you're a writer, like the moment you give it to a director or a DP or anybody that's gonna use it to create the story, it's already changing your script. It's already changing how it's in your head. But it's trusting that their vision can elevate.
Yeah.
That's why I like directing stuff
Yes.
that I write. I like writing stuff that I know I'm going to be able to direct.
Of course.
I don't like creating stuff that I know I'm going to have to hand to somebody completely different because I don't know what they're going to do with their vision.
You have to now. Just have a test and just be like,
But
and
that's
just a leap of faith and see how it
But
works.
that's something that AOD talks about. Mark in particular, well, the both of them actually, that I really do agree with. And there's a courage that comes with it. But Mark says it a million times: just finish the film. You know, just get it out there. And
that's why we're here right now with our film in the Hollywood, Florida Film Festival. Literally, it's like there's a lot of stuff about it that I'm like, okay, if we had this sound designer for a little longer, we would have been able to fix this thing. If we had this other reshoot of this first scene, things would have been better. Okay, but we have a film. We made it. We're here at the festival. We're competing for awards. We're meeting great people. We're doing this interview because we made that film in the first place.
And we're competing in it. We shot the film, what, 6 hours?
Literally, like
8 hours?
night,
And
no
then,
budget. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I had like only $30,000 for my film. I'm like, if I had $30,
small loan of $1 million,
right? Only a small loan, you know.
if I had like $30.
And everyone's like, oh, it's like 4 or 5 days of shooting, and I'm over here like, and it's like stressful too. Like, you know, as a DP, like you want all your best shots, but then having to get all 5 to 10 pages of your movie.
Was it a documentary that you guys made?
No,
it was a short film.
I
Oh,
wrote,
wow.
Like, I just write crazy scripts, and like I'm like, let's make this in one night.
That's crazy.
It's the most, as a DP, it's the most frustrating thing.
That's what I was saying. I was gonna say, if anything, documentary bends a lot more for those sort of things about, oh, I don't have the pickup shot or this or that. It's unscripted, so it can bend a lot more with a narrative film. Like it can really take you out of it, maybe if you don't.
Like, I need this reaction shot, or
Exactly.
this thing needs to be here. And
I mean, of course, if it's something on that level, you need to do it, right?
Right,
so there was
right.
stuff that they were getting, pickup shots like that I was in Brazil telling them, hey, I need a shot of like literally this tree, whatever, at night. Like this guy is looking at it. We have the reverse shot, but we don't have the POV. Can you get that POV? And they went and they got it. So there's pickup shots like that, but technically we shot that thing in like one night.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So.
And then you're super overcritical after a month of doing any project. It will look not the best you think.
as your mind, as your memory, as your imagination of what you thought your shot was going to be.
Crazy thing happened. The guy in the crowd, he's like, this is what Hollywood is made of. The little stories you're showing.
There was
is
a
so
guy saying that
important.
in the crowd yesterday.
And,
wow.
and
about,
he's like,
how-
he is a big guy in the industry, as he introduced himself. And he was like, but I live for this. I live for this
Independent
short
filmmaker.
stories and independent filmmakers and short little ideas and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Preach.
You just need to get it out in your system, and possibly you just start building up like better next time, next time. And I always think of like, of course, the team behind like the chemistry of the crew, super important, because
We're
like,
friends
if
like
you-
outside of it. That's
Right.
the cool thing about it.
if you
know?
keep
You have to be.
growing, then it's like no-brainer. Sometimes I don't even have to explain the whole idea, and they'll get me,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like, oh snap! So
Yeah.
we start getting more into the ideas. We can cook faster. Like that's the exercise really, and just get it out of your system, because sometimes you're gonna look back and be like, I could done this better. This is the story that I'm whack, but whatever.
Because
It's like-
everyone has a different one. Because like Val tells me an idea, and as she's telling me the idea, I'm already collecting the shot list.
yeah,
Boom, and then it's like, yeah, let's do it. And then like I just go home and just print it out. I'm like, is this what you thought? And like, yeah. And then boom, it gets the ball rolling, and
Exactly.
you know, it's the world of like, I guess, film. Like we've done a lot of teamwork stuff, and I've been working with even other creatives in Orlando, and just doing teamwork stuff. Just because it's just like you said, like you don't have full control.
Right.
But then if you trust their vision, then it's a merger of
It
your
becomes
vision
an
and their vision.
extension of you in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's cool because you work as a videographer or content creator, and you know that you need a certain light at a certain temperature in a certain place for that interview, when you have a crew that you've worked with enough, they know that you need a light at a certain temperature. So it's like now it's 3 in 1.
Right.
They're an extension of who you are. It's really funny how that works. And then that's when you find the right crew.
Right.
Yeah.
And it challenges you to communicate. You know,
Yeah.
communicate your image
key,
in
yeah.
your mind to someone else. And
Which is hard. Like
Yeah.
ideas, like just creativity to transform their origin, because that's the crazy part. I don't know how you guys cook their ideas, but I get it very random. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
what? It could be more, like, and then I have to at least take a
Yeah.
few notes. But I know that it's all here. But to transfer that
Yeah.
to the actual thing, you really need to know how to communicate, like
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something they don't tell you in the film school.
And of
Like,
course,
hey, you need to express yourself pretty well for others to catch.
right.
When
And of course, for me, that always happens when I'm driving or when I'm in the shower.
Yeah.
And then I get home or I get out of the shower and I was like, but what was the thing that I was like, what was it again?
You don't have a notebook to write it down.
Yeah.
It's getting all wet. You're like,
Exactly.
no.
Exactly.
So my last question for sure, and we need to wrap it up, is just what are your plans from now on? Like what the future holds for you?
That's a good question. I have like certain things that I want to do, and then I'm trying to keep a certain part of myself just open to what will sort of come my way as well. So I just shipped all the majority. I think I have like just some pickup shots to finish for this documentary with Johnny. I just shipped the bulk of the footage though to the editor in Kansas. So I'll be working with him in terms of building all that out, which should be fun. But then I'm also trying to, in the back of my mind, think about doing like maybe one more project like that again next year. I funded everything that I did for it, thanks to AOD and obviously things like that. So I'm trying to think about like basically doing the same thing again next year. So balancing the freelance and making enough money to live my life, but then also to be able to fund a short project. And then if I get funding for it and I don't have to fund it out of my pocket, then great. But I don't want that, if I got not a loan, a grant or something, then I'll like to be able to depend on the grant to be able to make it, or otherwise it's like, well, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so right now I'm trying to think about that, but then also find more freelance projects that I enjoy, because a lot of the stuff that I found myself doing this first year was like I just said yes to a lot of stuff because I was like, I want to work kind of thing. And now I want to get to a point where I can be more selective with it and be like, no, I don't want to just shoot reels for you kind of thing. You know what I mean?
What kinds of projects did you do?
What kind of projects have I done?
Yeah, this year especially.
Everybody always asks me that, and then I draw a blank. I've done sports stuff. I have some friends of mine who work for a company called Top Tier Trader. It's sort of like a group of like crypto sort of traders. I don't really fully understand it, to be honest. It's not really my space. But they host events and stuff like that. I don't film any crypto stuff or anything like that. They host events, they do community events and stuff like that. So I've done stuff like that for them. I've continued to do some sports stuff. This summer I got to shoot the Gold Cup. I'm hoping to work soon on a project that's sort of more documentary stuff with CONCACAF for the Champions League next year. So that could be kind of cool.
So you've got good contacts within that industry, you would say? Like your networking is already big there, so you fluctuate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about big, but I mean, it could be bigger. But it's been enough for me now. And then the branded aspect sort of things from AOD and learning how to pitch stuff to certain clients, stuff like that too. Don't get me wrong, like I love filming soccer, but I also don't just want to just do soccer. And so recently I've started working with the University Nova, NSU, and they have me filming stuff for volleyball, for basketball. What other sports have I done? The soccer is obviously mainly those three. I think they want me to do baseball coming up, which I've never filmed baseball before. But volleyball like has been basketball was really cool. Don't get me wrong, but volleyball was really cool too. And I was so used to in soccer like having to follow the ball, so I hop into volleyball, and that thing is a rocket, and it's going from side to side. I'm like, I can't keep up with this. Yeah, but then I started sticking on players more, and like in terms of what we were saying earlier, you sort of learn to adapt to it and learn like what you need. And then basketball is a different experience because there's no real crowd in volleyball, even though the girls are really good. But the basketball, of course, the men's in particular, bring out this great crowd. They just won the national championship. They got a mascot blowing smoke, and there's fans.
I
And
always thought that it's so fun that
Yeah.
like it's
And the experience
interactive,
is very interactive, but the experience compared to soccer is much more intimate because everyone is so
Yeah,
close
yeah.
and it's so much
also
smaller.
physically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It becomes more intimate
you're closer
because
to the action. The court is a lot smaller,
Yeah.
so the players aren't going as far from
the
you, kind of
sound
thing.
of the shoes on the
Right,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, there's so many sounds with basketball, whereas in soccer it's like wider, it's usually open, so it's outdoors.
And there's cheerleaders and there's timeouts and there's
Basketball
music
is
and
just-
Yeah, the timeouts. That's what I mean. It's like it's fun for a crowd to be in there.
it's dynamic.
Because you're like, there's so many things
There's so
going
much
on,
going on.
and they play a lot.
Right.
It's a very American sport in
Yeah.
that way. I feel
Oh, yeah.
like it's very much like there's always entertainment going on. There's not 1 second where there isn't something. Like the play stops, a song comes up, there's a commercial, you're on the big screen in the middle.
Right.
Then there's a guy with a camera on you, the cheerleaders are here.
Right.
There's a kiss cam, so there's like a
Yeah.
couple there.
And there's much-
shit in the middle of the court going on.
and there's much more scoring too.
Yeah.
There's much more scoring. So there's dunks and there's threes and it feels like there's a lot more going on, like you said.
Soccer's just like,
Yeah. But soccer can be beautiful too.
oh,
Yeah.
that's my favorite
To go
sport.
from nothing to something.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, in terms of being dynamic, I feel like it's only if you're really into it. You know, like for me as a fan, like if I'm watching a Sao Paulo game, that to me, there's nothing like it. You can give me any basketball game ever, it's not gonna feel like that. You know, because every little
Yeah.
moment is very dynamic.
Right.
But for someone that doesn't know soccer, you're just watching it like, oh, this is boring.
Right, right.
You know,
Yeah.
you're just like, what is it? Like
Unless
1-0?
you're
Or
in
0,
South
0?
America and like the
Oh, no,
crowd
they're
is so hyped
so
that you're
passionate.
like, wow, you
So
don't even know.
So I was gonna
what's
say,
going
do we have time for one story?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so my last ever away game at Inter, I totally forgot about this when you asked me this. It's not better than the Inter story or than the Messi one, but it's up there. It was my last ever away game. We were playing against DC United in DC. I have a couple friends that live in DC. Or one of them got to go to the game with his wife, and they were there. They happened to be like front row, like not that far from where I was filming the game. And it was this Inter Miami. It's my last year there, so Higuaín was there. He had a great end of the season. He was scoring like crazy, which he hadn't done before. And the team was really pushing to make it in the playoffs, and they fell short at the very end, I think. And we're going to DC. We're playing the bottom team in the league in both conferences, right? So a game that we're expected to win. It gets chippy. I think there was a moment in the game where one of the DC players potentially may have said a racial slur to one of the Inter Miami players. Mm-hmm. And so the game got tense and the crowd very much got into it. And DC was like dying to score a goal and win a point because they hadn't in God knows how long, right? There's probably like 10 minutes left in the game. I'm right behind the goal. And it's sort of those things, live moments. I'm hoping and I'm praying for my moment. This is my last game. I'm trying to like soak up the atmosphere too, but it wouldn't be as good as if we won, right? Kind of thing. So I'm hoping. I had this feeling in my hairs and my arms. I'm like, we're gonna win. You know what I mean? And DC's trash, right? So like, but they were having a great game, of course, because that always happens to Inter. And Higuaín comes down the field. I think there might have been like 5 minutes left in the game. He scores a goal. Not a particularly great goal, but he scores a goal. And so at this point, there were moments at Inter, and it grew in confidence where I would hop on the field real quick and get a shot kind of thing. And this was my last game.
And he's Argentinian, and you're Argentinian, you're half Argentinian.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is my last game, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to go streaking on the field or anything like that, but I'll hop on the field because he's filming on the field. I was like, screw it. The ref will tell me to get off. I'll ask for forgiveness later, right? I hop on the field, and I film Higuaín celebrating. It was a cool shot, nothing crazy. And then I'm in front of the whole supporter stand for DC United, right? And DC United fans are livid because they had a chance to tie a game and get 1 point, and they lost in the last minute. And there's a huge Central American crowd, particularly from Honduras and El Salvador, right? I swear to God, I didn't think anything of it, but there were some fans who were just angry, but angry with DC, and they're flicking off and they're cursing, oh, you suck, right? I didn't think anything of it. I just turned my camera around. As I'm walking back to my tripod, I got a quick shot of the fans, which is something that I would do sometimes for our videos get reaction shots, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, nothing crazy. And there's one fan that looks dead into my lens and was like, fuck you, or I hate you, or something like that, right? And just the face that he was making made me chuckle. And I didn't think anything of it because it was just, and that happens a lot, you know? And so I must have gotten like a 3 or 4 second, 5 second clip. And I didn't want to antagonize him, right? So I put my camera down and I pissed off a crowd of like 500 people. No. and people start to come down because all of these are standing only sections. So they all start to come down. I'm also have my tripod in my backpack.
You're laughing because literally you just
the face of
scored
it.
against
Not even. I wasn't even trolling them though.
Yeah,
like the
but
dude.
in their head, that's what's happening.
Oh, of course. They think they're.
Inter Miami shirt.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
I'm dressed in all pink and black. I'm wearing Inter
already.
Miami. They think that I'm trolling them, right? Because we just beat
You're
you.
filming them. I just scored against you, bro.
That's exactly what they saw, but that's not really what it was. But I'll take it. But I'll take it because I didn't care. I'm like, you guys are in last place, right? And so yeah. But in terms of what you were talking about, Central America or just Latin American sports, like particularly in Argentina, Boca River is people die at
Yeah,
games,
Boca River,
you know?
people die. I keep telling them when I go to São Paulo games, I'm like, wish me luck.
Right. Exactly.
If it's a big rivalry.
Right.
Yeah.
And Central America too is not maybe the safest place in the world sometimes, right? So, but I swear to God, about 200 people come down. And they're all coming down, and I got so this is the stand, this is the field here, I'm sitting right up against it. To the point where about 6-7 security guards kind of form a bubble right around me, because people are throwing beers at me. People are throwing beers at me, they're yelling at me in Spanish, they're calling me all sorts of different names. And at this point, I wanted to troll them, right? Because like, you guys are literally throwing things at me, I'm gonna throw something figuratively back at you. So I'm there, and it just makes me laugh even more. Now, we had an FX6 at Inter Miami, but on this trip, I took my personal camera. So I was a little bit worried that beer was gonna, mess up my camera. So I'm hunched over my camera like this, and people are throwing beer at me. My whole back is wet. One dude comes, takes his shirt off, throws it at me, and he's like, "Here, since you love us so much, just take it, right?" And so the security guards, one of them turns to me, he's like, "Dude, you should probably just go like the sideline, man. Like go somewhere else, And I turned to him and I said, I could just film this and show it to the MLS and they can get in trouble for it, right? Because obviously you can't be throwing beer and cups and stuff on the field, right? And I was like, I'm not in the wrong. He's like, I know you're not in the wrong, but you can get hurt. And I'm like, they don't sell glasses in stadiums for glass for a reason, right? And I'm thinking I'm not gonna get hurt, but I knew that like me staying there was gonna piss them off even more, and it was gonna empower me. But me leaving was gonna empower them, right? And there's like 2 minutes left in the game, so I'm just trying to hold on.
It's your Latino side.
Right. And so we go on and we win the game, and there was obviously tension because of the racial slur. It was just a heated game, and I told myself like, as soon as the game ends, I'm gonna go like 30 feet. I'm gonna turn around and we'll film them from there. And I didn't remember because like the team was celebrating, so I wanted to do the shots of me weighing and all that. And I told people about it, and my friend was there and he was watching it all. And he texted me like, "Yo, like I was about to hop in there and fight them with you, man." I was like, "Okay." And I would tell people about it, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, like are you okay? Like that's crazy." And I would just be like, I loved it. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it was wrong what they did. I would never do something like that to somebody, but like, it was just a great romantic story to end on in a weird way, kind of thing. But it was a cool experience.
Fans, like, well, they say that there's nothing compared for like the passion of soccer, football,
right?
Than any other sport, no, and I believe that. I believe that.
I cried.
Like,
when we won Copa Brazil this year, I was crying, bro.
Yeah.
We were all crying.
The emotional part of like the fans is insane. They can lose it, they can love it, they can just be crazy about it, and that's a special. Yeah. And they have to keep that essence in like the actual live production, which is something I never understood. My dad is like big guy watching sports, and of course soccer and many other sports, but I never knew of like how important it is to when you're broadcasting still have the same essence, and they do drop a lot of like sound that mocks, like it's like actually control. It's not the actual crowd, but they put a little bit more of crowd because that's what you get when you're like in the field.
Create that experience.
And then they need that experience and the thing. Like going back to basketball, like the sneakers and that sometimes it's not the real one. They do have mics on the floor.
To highlight and enhance that.
But they also have pre-record sounds that they have to throw there because like imagine just watching like mute. It will be like what? You have to hear like a little bit of the crowd. And then they have to put it in there faded. But
it's a wrap. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, man. If anything, tag your social media or tag anything you want to do, and just let the audience know. Where to follow you?
Oh yeah. My Instagram is Andres GZ96. And then I don't have TikTok or that, but I have Instagram.
Anything you would like to say for someone, let's say to yourself like 4 years ago when you started?
4 years ago.
I would say leave it to like a 2 sentence, quick
Yeah,
little
just
jab.
a quick, like, you know, for someone starting out, if you have any tips.
Back yourself, invest in yourself. That's what I would say. That's what I feel like freelance has taught me. It's been the biggest lesson that I've learned since I've started working. It feels like nowadays everyone can get a camera, everyone can make something, especially with iPhones shoot and log now, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, but if you invest in yourself, you can there's a lot of things you can invest in, and you can lose in a lot of them. But if you invest in yourself and you ultimately back yourself and you're disciplined enough to do it, you won't lose. You'll win. You'll only win.
Yeah.
When you'll win, you know, obviously we don't know, but it's inevitable. You're taking steps towards something.
Towards winning, yeah.
Towards winning. Yeah.
Let's get it. Awesome, guys.
It's a wrap.
Thank you.
See you guys later.